and welcome to this special series of Shine a Light for Education. As some of you might have guessed, in this particular series we're going to be highlighting the importance of getting access to quality education for every child, the role that technology plays in helping to accelerate access to quality education, and also helping to activate engagement with young people and technology and its importance. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sharice Hilton, a Design and Implementation Executive, and I'm delighted to be joined in this particular episode with Selina Nkoile. Hi Selina, how are you doing?
Hi Sharice, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. So for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. My name is Selina Nkoile. I come from Kenya. I am a girls' education campaigner from my local community, the Maasai community. And I am also a GPE youth leader, and I have been working to ensure that every girl can have an access to education. And I am also the founder of Nashipai Maasai Community Project, which is a grassroots organization that uses grassroots interventions to address barriers that stand in the way for girls to get an education.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you're an advocate for education. What kick-started that journey for you?
So for me, what inspired me to become an advocate for education is the fact that I was never to go to school in the first place. I come from a Maasai community, and we didn't have any schools growing up. So the first and the only girls focused school was established through external financing, and that's when now they looked for ways to engage our fathers to put us into school. And for me, education has been life-changing. It has changed my life in so many amazing ways. It was like my saving grace. So that's why just looking at how education has transformed my life, I have dedicated my life to ensure that no girl misses out on school, and that's why I started the community-based organization, and as well I joined GPE as one of their youth champions to continue advancing the agenda of ensuring that everybody is brought together, all the stakeholders, governments, and just the global community to continue to invest in girls' education so that girls can shine like I am.
Oh, that is absolutely brilliant. I love hearing that story. You mentioned about, education ultimately changed your life, it saved you. What do you think needs to be done to ensure that we are driving and continuing that sustainable change in terms of getting every girl access to quality education?
I think there is a lot we can do, and people should really not underestimate the power of like that the small thing. Like there's always the smallest thing someone can do. First of all, I think ensuring that governments and world leaders continue to put girls' education as a priority in their list, because most governments or most leaders, they see girls' education as an expense, but really it's an investment. If someone had not invested in my education 15 years ago, I wouldn't be where I am. I would have been married a child bride. So they should look at girls' education as a very nice investment that brings back a lot of benefits, because right now, just from me going to school, I'm now with GPE. I am campaigning so hard to ensure that every girl has an access to education. I am working hard to ensure that everybody knows what the barriers to address education are, so that they can focus on them. And also, I am there as a role model for girls in my community, and through me, they will know that they can also make it.
On the topic of access to quality education, we obviously are aware that there are barriers as well. What would you say are the most poignant barriers in terms of every child getting access to quality education?
I think some of the barriers to children accessing an education is, first, the fact that we are experiencing really adverse climatic conditions brought about by climate change. It has brought a lot of disruptions in learning. We have also had cultural issues such as child marriage, and also we have a big problem with digital literacy. There is a big digital divide that is making a lot of children miss out on learning.
On the topic of the digital divide then, what role does technology play in helping to accelerate adoption and access to quality education?
When it comes to digital literacy and the digital divide, of course, yeah, it's a huge challenge because when we had the issue of when we had the pandemic, when the whole world was hard hit by the pandemic, a lot of countries shut down their school systems. I think almost the whole world, and that meant that children stopped learning physically in classroom and they went home. And most of the children, especially because GPE works in over 90 countries, there was a study that in Burundi, only 5.3% of the people had access to internet.
Wow.
So when it comes to technology, technology is very important because first, it makes learning remote and very flexible. You can access schooling from anywhere. It also makes learning fun and creative because you don't have to listen to the same teacher all the time. But also now looking at the accessibility, it's really, if half of the country are in darkness and they don't have connectivity, then it's tough for them to access the technology. It's hard for them to even purchase the gadgets. So it's just important that governments, GP has been trying to meet governments and talk to them about this and see how every kid can have equitable access to digital literacy, and also looking at low tech solutions because again there's no so much allocation to it, so they can only make use of some funding that's available, and looking for low tech solutions is important, and also less complicated gadgets, like gadgets that are easy to navigate. But when it comes to digital literacy, there is really, there is need to address that and not further create more of a divide, because you see the children who are missing out are those that are already in the rural areas with no connectivity. And then with pandemics and like pandemics like COVID or climate change related issues disrupting education, it means that they're the ones who are in the rurals and they're the ones who are still more vulnerable, and they're also facing the consequences even more than because they cannot access digital literacy.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer all of these questions. Before you go, I do want to round it off with a few quick fire questions. I say a few, there's only two.
Okay.
So, what motto would you tell to your 8-year-old self?
Ooh, my 8-year-old self.
8-year-old self.
Dear 8-year-old Celina, it only gets better with time, and time heals everything.
I love that.
Yeah.
And the last one, what does education mean to you?
Education to me means being a role model for other girls and lending my voice so that every girl in the world can have an access to education.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We really do appreciate you sharing your story and giving us so much insight about what you've been through and the work that you're doing. It's absolutely incredible.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure meeting you, Cherise.
Thank you, Celina. Thanks for joining us in this episode of Shine a Light for Education. Stay tuned for the next episode.